Hello and welcome everybody to the AV Exchange. I'm your host, Joe Dunbar. We are presented as always by Starin. Checks calendar, October 3rd. We're into the fall. I won't go on about how fast it is going by. We just wrapped up a quarter. A lot of folks did anyway. A lot of folks did. I know we did. We're going to be joined this afternoon by the team at Lenovo. As always, I'm stoked about it. It's a great team. We've got one of the technical folks with us and one of the sales folks with us, James McGuire, who is their channel account manager, who helps us and our account and manage everything with Lenovo and Starin, and Mark Whittaker. Mark has helped me out a billion times, so I'm excited that y'all are going to have some access to this team today. It's a great team. We'll hit the agenda. We're going to do some top sellers. We're going to look at some new products and roadmap stuff, a couple differentiators, and some promos. We're giving away an M14 portable monitor at the end of this, so definitely stick around. We'll do the normal raffle stuff. As always, before we jump into it with the team, a couple of housekeeping things. One, please use the Q&A for questions. It really helps us stay organized and make sure that we get you the answers we need, whether it's live or afterwards. Use the comments in the chat for general chatter. I love to see where people are calling in from. I know right now I'm up in Minnesota still. I was supposed to be gone about a week ago, but I'm stuck here in one more week, and it's getting cold, y'all. So let us know where you are. I know our friends in the Southwest are sweltering right now, so we're freezing up here for you a little bit. I'm going to launch one of the polls real quick. If you've been with us before, you know that this is just a quick poll so that we can get a grip on who we're talking to. Mark's in Milwaukee, by the way. Mark, I hope you're staying warm there, buddy, because it turned to fall real quick in the upper Midwest. The poll's going right now. Let us know if you're, just familiar with Lenovo, if you're new to Lenovo, and then, are you a system integrator? Are you an end user? Are you a rep firm? Whoever, just so we know who we're talking to, and that we use the appropriate language, and we don't, talk over or way below your skill levels and bore you to death. So we appreciate your participation with that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the team from Lenovo. We got Mark Whittaker and James McGuire. Fellas, thanks for joining. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on here today. And James, I'm sure, is also doing great. I don't mean to speak for you, James. So tell us how you're doing, too.
I'm all great down here in Tampa Bay. I am actually on my third week at home. It's probably my longest stretch without travel for work in the last 6 months. So I am nearly caught up on emails, which rarely ever happens. So very happy to be here and speaking with the Starin team today and the customers.
James, I love that, man. There's a lot of, as an ex-salesperson, I know there's a lot of sales folks out there right now who jealous of your stint at home, and the inbox zero thing. I'm not even going to get into that. That would be a heck of an accomplishment, my friend. Before we dive in, you guys, to really the content at heart, I know we're going to look at some products, some of the popular stuff, some of the roadmap and all that. Can you guys just brief introduction, on you yourself and what you do at Lenovo? If we can start with you, James.
Yeah, absolutely. So James McGuire, I am the distribution channel account manager for North America, which means I cover Starin as well as coast to coast. So any distribution road shows that anybody on the call has been out there, you've probably seen me in person doing the 30-second Smart Collab pitch. This obviously will be a lot more in-depth. But anything that you guys need when it comes to Lenovo Smart Collaboration through Starin, I'm going to be kind of your go-to guy. Not only do I help our distribution partners, but I do help our reseller and end user community too, wherever I'm needed. So whatever you guys need help with, please do not hesitate to reach out. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Whittaker.
Hey, thanks, James. So I'm Mark Whittaker. I'm a Smart Collaboration Technical Consultant. So what that actually means is that I'm the guy who you can ask the questions of, hey, how does that actually work? And I can get you an answer. I may not know all the answers. I do get stumped from time to time, but I know where to find all the answers, which is pretty valuable in its own way. I call home the Boston, Massachusetts area. However, I'm based out of Terminal A in Logan Airport. So I, as I suggested earlier, I'm in Milwaukee right now on the road coming at you live. So thank you so much for having us on again, Joe.
Yeah, I love it, you guys. Appreciate the quick intros. We got a couple people stacked up in here. Appreciate everybody participating in the poll. It looks like we're talking largely to mostly systems integrators today. I will encourage everybody to drop questions in as we go. Please do, and I'll insert them in the conversation where they make some sense. Mark, James, I know we've got some, some visuals to look at. We can pull up a deck and talk through some of the products and stuff like that. What are we looking at first? Let's take a dive in here.
Yeah, so if you don't mind me kicking it off, Mark, just a little bit of background around Lenovo Smart Collaboration, because I know we still have a lot of integrators, resellers out there today that are not super familiar with Lenovo Smart Collaboration. Lenovo did enter into the video collab space maybe about 6-7 years ago, something like that, with a single product known as the ThinkSmart Hub. It's a very unique product. It's still one of our top sellers today. It's been refined and updated many times since our launch. But since then, we have really expanded the portfolio to a wide range of different room solutions. So we're excited to talk today kind of about what we have to offer. The nice thing about Lenovo Smart Collab is that we are constantly introducing new products into our ecosystem. We definitely have a couple of new ones we're going to talk about during this presentation.
Awesome. I love peeks under the curtain. I love seeing roadmaps. It's important to cover existing products for sure. There's no doubt about that. We expect people to be more familiar with those, but you never know. And I will say, every webinar I attend, I usually learn something about a product or a line that I thought I knew about, that I thought I knew everything about or most things about. So I'm excited to see it. How about we take? Oh, you already beat me to it. Take a look at the lineup.
Yeah, sounds great. So as soon as that slide pops up, so this is just a quick overview of what we have to offer today. You'll see everything from personal room spaces all the way up to large rooms. We can even support some of the even auditorium size spaces too, using some customizable technology with our ThinkSmart Core and controller. We will, of course, be talking about that more later in the presentation. But the thing that I like to call out on this slide is that the majority of our portfolio today is going to be specifically designed for Microsoft Teams rooms and for Zoom rooms. We do also have one of the best Google Meet room solutions in the industry. That's, kind of a bit of a secret. We'll also be getting into that a little bit just to make sure that our partners are aware that we have that to offer. And then the one thing that is missing from this slide that has not been added yet is that we did recently introduce our first ever BYOD solution. And I have Mark joining. He's going to talk to the BYOD solution today too.
I didn't know that, you guys. I can't wait to see that. Mark, sorry.
It's all good. One quick correction I have, James. You said Google Meet Series 1 systems are some of the best or one of the best. That's a lie. It is the best. Come on, man. Get with the program. Get with the program.
That's heavy claims right there. I can't wait to see you guys. Honestly, right away, I've been getting a ton of interest on Google Meet solutions over the last. It's really grown, I feel like, in the last few months. So I'm excited that you guys are going to talk about it. I do appreciate that Teams and Zoom kind of have the market cornered a little bit more and a bit more market share. But I like that we're talking about it, and I can't wait to dive in and take a deeper look at that. Mark, you're going to have to explain why when the time comes. I can't wait,
Absolutely.
man.
Yep.
All right, cool. So the first kind of solution slide I have here is going to be our ThinkSmart Core, our ThinkSmart controller lineup. So one thing I like to call out before we get into the individual room solutions is that we do have two versions of controllers available for pretty much everything that you'll see today. So we have a USB controller that allows for great basic meeting room control and functionality, allows you to start your meeting, stop your meeting, mute, unmute, start your camera, everything that you need to basically run your meeting space. But probably about 8 months ago, Lenovo did realize that we were missing a large part of the market as far as our controller capabilities go. So we introduced the Lenovo IP controller. And the IP controller allows you to actually do HDMI ingest at the controller itself. One of the unique features about the Lenovo compute solution for Microsoft Teams or for Zoom is that it allows you to do HDMI ingest at the controller or the compute, depending on how you set up the meeting room. So something good to call out here. Another great feature about the IP controller is that it allows you to do up to 100 meters of cable routing. The USB controller does have a signal booster in the middle, which makes things a little bit difficult as far as running conduit goes. So definitely something I like to call out there. And then the last thing is the IP controller is wall mountable as well. So for a little bit more custom configuration, I would say probably about 80% of our new opportunities today are using the IP controller. But for some more price conscientious customers, again, the USB controller is available, still gives you everything you need to start your meeting.
So real quick, one quick addition about our IP controller is that I'm just going to kind of take a little quick disclaimer here and say that I wasn't on the naming committee when we named that device, but the IP controller cannot actually go on an IP network, which, why did you call it that exactly? And that's actually an interesting question, but ultimately what it boils down to is that it is a direct connect from the IP controller itself to the little box you see kind of hiding out behind the IP controller in the picture right there. And it has to be a direct connect. You could use structured wiring. You just have to patch at the network closet, as long as you're not exceeding that 100 meters. Or for those of us in North America who are metrically challenged, that's about 330 feet.
So I just to clarify on that, Mark, I appreciate you calling this out. It's more of like a Ethernet extension solution and still utilizing USB at the controller and the PC.
That's essentially correct. The USB controller also has a USB-C connector on it. So in the event that you need to service one of these devices, you don't necessarily have to actually pull the core out from behind the display. You can actually connect a keyboard and mouse via a USB hub right to the USB to the IP controller. So there is some really cool feature set associated with that. But yes, it is essentially just an HDMI and USB extender built into the device.
Got it. Appreciate the clarification, Mark. James, go ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you pulling the curtain back there a little bit, Mark. So this is a good transition into the next kind of base room solution that I want to talk about today, which is our ThinkSmart Core and Controller. And it's important for everybody on the call to know today that this is our #1 seller. So if you have customers that you want to potentially put a Smart Collab device in front of today, this is a great place to start. It really allows you to create a fully customized room solution. So any third-party device that is Teams or Zoom certified that will connect via USB-A or USB-C will essentially be plug and play with this device. We, of course, do have officially certified OEM partners that we bundle with and we really channel sell with. But theoretically, anything that is Teams or Zoom certified should plug and play with this. The other place that this fits really well into is customers that already have a integrated room solution, meaning they have microphones and cameras and speakers that are installed in the wall, that are installed in the ceiling, things that are not easily rippable and replaceable. But they have a compute that's hitting its refresh cycle. They've had a nook in that room for 3 to 5 years. It's just time to refresh. They need something new. This is a great opportunity and a great device to just simply plug and play and replace and update that room and get the compute power from the #1 PC manufacturer in the world today to run that meeting space.
James, one quick thing to add there that it's easily overlooked and it's not very easily thought about. But one of the key things about our core as a whole is that it's purpose built. This is not just an off-the-shelf computer that you can kind of buy somewhere else and do whatever. This is purpose built, meaning all the thermal design is purpose built, all the processing setup, et cetera, is all purpose built, meaning that it's specifically designed to get shoved behind a TV and not bake itself to death. It's specifically designed to go into some weird places and function 100% without any problems. So that's it. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to say that's a really great point, Mark, and I appreciate you saying as much. I mean, even when we're selling these, computes standalone or anything like that, it's really it's the go-to make and model for us. I know there are other options out there for computes and other things on the shelf, but there have been problems with other manufacturers and models, and without getting any specifics, I feel like a lot of people have run into those problems and know what I'm talking about. And the Lenovo option is so rock solid and so well, and to your point, purposely built for this, and that explains why we have such a good experience with it. So that's a huge thing to keep in mind. I want to touch real quick. We're working on the slide. I don't know on you guys aren't seeing it here, but the folks who are watching, it's coming through a little blurry. It has nothing to do with our other end. We're trying to work through it right now, but thank you guys for hanging with us while we sort that out. Yeah, but anyway, James, if you want to keep moving on, sorry about that.
Yeah, of course. So, surprise. Again, Core and Controller, our #1 selling product today. We are running huge promotions on this through distribution. So please, if you are interested in a Lenovo Smart Collab solution, today is the time to try it out. Reach out to your distribution sales team. Both our USB and our IP controller versions are on sale today, including for Teams and for Zoom. So regardless of what core and controller solution you would like to implement today, you can get up to $500 off through your distribution partner, such as Starin. So reach out to your sales team, make sure that you're getting that discounting applied. It's a great time to try out some Smart Collab devices.
Couple of folks sounding off in the chat about how rock solid these units are. Jim mentioned he's, no fear about putting these in credenzas. So now is your opportunity to get a little cash off and save some money on them too, y'all. Hard to beat that.
Absolutely. All right, so that'll roll us through into kind of our first full room solution, which is one of our newer offerings. It's probably been out for about 4 to 6 months now, but that is going to be our ThinkSmart Bar 180 full room kit. And this is going to be the same core and controller as you guys saw on the last solution slide, with the addition of the ThinkSmart Bar 180. And for those of you that are joining us today that are familiar with Jabra, this might look very familiar to a device called the Panicast 50. This is a OEM'd version of the Panicast 50, and we've always worked very closely with Jabra for years now to do in-channel bundle solutions, and we've kind of taken that partnership to the next level now, and we've done this for a couple of reasons. First is support, always a huge component of deploying room solutions. So in the past, you had to call either Jabra or Lenovo when it came to deployment questions or doing troubleshooting. With us bringing this under the Lenovo portfolio, we are now able to offer a single point of contact for anything in that room that gets deployed. And this is also a great time to call out Lenovo's premier support. So all of the devices that I talk about today, including everything you see on the screen here, do come with a 3-year Premier Support warranty by default. That means not only do you have assistance with deployment up front, but you actually have on-site Premier support for troubleshooting if anything does happen to go wrong with our solutions. Now, the other nice part about this is that we do have a integration with our cloud-based management platform known as ThinkSmart Manager. So, Mark, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about ThinkSmart Manager later in the presentation, but if you'd like to talk maybe a little bit about how the Bar 180 integrates through ThinkSmart Manager, I think this would be a great time to do so.
Absolutely, James. So the ThinkSmart Manager is just kind of real quick. ThinkSmart Manager is our back-end remote management, monitoring, and control software suite that allows you to dig into the devices remotely, reboot them remotely, do all kinds of fun stuff like that. And again, we'll talk about that in a little more detail a little later. But one of the greatest parts about this is that a lot of the setup for the Bar 180, I don't know, going back to the Panicast 50 comparison, there's a lot of settings associated with this device and lots of different crazy things you can do with this device. And crazy is a good thing in this particular case. And you can do all that through our ThinkSmart Manager software. And that it's much easier for me to show it to you during that time of the meeting rather than try to explain it right now.
You gotta have management these days, and opportunity. There needs to be a tool available for management of these devices. It's almost a non-negotiable. So I'm excited to take a deeper dive and a look into that with you guys in a little bit.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, Mark, anything else you want to add on this?
No. So we drew the comparison between the Pentacast 50 and the Bar 180. Typically, last I checked anyway, the what you mentioned, our 3-year Premier support. Last I checked, the Jabra Pentacast 50 only came with 1 year, so that there is a difference there. So it's something to think about.
That is correct as well. Good call out, Mark.
Good differentiator, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll roll into the next solution here. Oh, I forgot to mention, of course, also up to $500 off until the end of the year right now on our Bar 180 full room kit. So again, if you want to get the standalone core and controller, huge discounts on that. If you want to roll out a full solution, room solution through Lenovo Smart Collab today as well, also on sale. And this does go for IP, USB, Teams, or for Zoom. So pretty much everything that you could possibly want from a core and controller perspective, along with the Bar 180 on sale today through Starin. All right. So that being said, let's talk about the ThinkSmart Hub, the latest version of our flagship product that I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation. Very unique form factor, as I mentioned as well. Yes, it does kind of look like a cash register. Yes, it is also probably our second most popular selling product today, even after all of these years. Now, the nice thing about this is that it's what we like to call an almost all-in-one room device. The base of this is going to be your Teams or Zoom imaged compute. It's going to be the same i5 compute as you find with our core and controller solution. You have a 10.5-inch touchscreen controller up top. And then across the top of that controller, you actually have 4 beam-forming microphones for audio capture. And then where you see that ring light, where that kind of gooseneck thing is today, those are actually your integrated speakers. So the only thing that you really need to add to this piece of hardware to have a fully functioning room is going to be a Microsoft Teams room camera of your choice. Of course, we recommend our own cam, which is called the ThinkSmart Cam. Pretty easy to remember there. Your display of choice, and then of course, your Teams or Zoom room license. Now, the other thing that I like to call out about this is that it is a great solution for small and huddle rooms. Those circular tables that have 3 or 4 people sitting at them and don't have a ton of room to set down pen and paper. Small form factor. It doesn't take up a ton of room on the table. And the touchscreen controller actually rotates 360 degrees as well. So regardless of where you're sitting at that small table, you can kind of rotate the screen to be able to control that meeting space. So that's kind of my highlights on this. Mark, anything else you'd like to add?
So a couple quick things, James. First off is the audio built into this guy. The first generation had 2 microphones and 2 speakers. This guy has been significantly enhanced with the second generation. It's 4 microphones across the top, and I think it's actually twice as powerful speakers in the neck. Curiously, from an audio perspective, this guy punches way above its weight class. So James mentioned those small and huddle spaces. It could probably actually go up to significantly larger spaces. The biggest problem with that is once you start getting into those larger spaces, the table gets big enough that people want to pull the device towards them, and then it's no longer a center of room device. So you'd hear the person sitting right in front of it much louder than you'd hear the person sitting across the table, and it can get a little bit wacky like that. But this device is like I was suggesting, probably punches way above its weight class from the audio perspective.
Can I call this, you guys, an almost all-in-one? Because James, you pointed out it's like throw a camera there and obviously display and you're off to the races. But typically when we think of I don't want to say all-in-one because this is not quite there, but it is most in one, right? But typically in those applications, it's more like we're usually seeing a bar, which we've looked at a little bit in the Lenovo lineup. Are you guys seeing pretty good adoption rates of something like this in the? I mean, I would imagine small and huddle spaces, and I love the fact that it can outperform those spaces. I mean, have you seen a lot of applications like that? Are people stretching the boundaries with this, or are we just letting them know that they can if they need to?
So that's a good question. So more the information I was suggesting about the audio is just letting you know that just because you're in a smaller huddle space does not mean that you're going to have a poor audio experience. As a matter of fact, it'll probably be a much better experience than what you would expect. Secondarily, though, from your question about the bar, stay tuned, and we'll talk about something that might be interesting in just a minute.
All right, I might have set you up. All right, here we go.
Well, I actually had one other point to make about this guy before we walked on to the next bit of stuff, and that is that the first generation, which are the Hub 500s, they have rectangular bases. They look different than this. Those guys are only capable of going to Windows 10 and staying on Windows 10. They will not do Windows 11. Why does that matter? Excellent question, Joe. I appreciate that. And that question is because as of October next year, Windows 10 will no longer be supported. So if you do happen to have clients who have Hub 500s in their environment, start talking to them now so they can get it into their budget by the end of the year so they can actually get it upgraded before that Windows 11 kickover fully happens and they're up the creek, frankly.
Yeah, great call out. Now's the time.
Now is the time. All right. Sorry, that was the last thing I had to say about this guy, so we can move on.
No, great call out, Mark. All right, so fingers crossed this next slide is going to be that transition that we're hoping for. And it is. So, speaking of all-in-one devices, we do have a very unique bar called the ThinkSmart One bar. And this is the first and only Windows-based all-in-one bar on the market today. So everything else that's all-in-one is going to be Android-based. So with this being that Windows-based bar, that does mean that it has the same i5 processor, 16 gigs of memory as you would find with the rest of our portfolio today. Of course, it does have an integrated 4K PTZ camera, very similar to what we have in our ThinkSmart Cam standalone today. You have your integrated microphones and speakers, as well as a handy little clock there in the bottom right-hand corner to keep your meeting running on time. One of the nice things about this is that you can either mount it above or below your display. It does come with bracketry to angle it up or down 5 degrees. So depending on how your room setup is, you definitely have that option. And we see a lot of people as well that are putting these into rooms where they might not have the capability to do wall mounting. And this is a great device to just set out a credenza in the front of the room too. So some extra options when it comes to how you set this up in the meeting room space. Mark, I don't know, this might be a good time for you to talk about a little bit about what is the advantage of having a Windows-based bar over an Android device?
Sure. So for starters, Windows is friendly to IT. I mean, that should be something that most people probably already understand. But the fact is that most IT departments already understand Windows and Windows administration. So it becomes a very easy, just another thing in their environment. Android can be problematic, but it's just a Windows option for what everybody thinks of for the Android. The other big thing about that is that there's 4 lovely little letters that Microsoft has released recently called MDEP, MDEP. That's a Microsoft Device Ecosystem Platform or something to that effect, where basically Microsoft is going to be telling everybody exactly how to administer Android on their devices. Which is to say that in the past, it's been kind of a wild, wild west of, if you had got brand A that had their Android compute built into their bar, they would use the Android AOSP, Android open source platform or some of that effect, AOSP. And what would happen is that they would take the Android open platform and build on top of that. And that made support an absolute nightmare from Microsoft's perspective. And I think Microsoft had just had enough of it and said, enough, we're going to specify exactly how you're going to be doing that. Now, why did I tell you this story? Excellent question, James. I told you this story because really what's going on here is that any new features being rolled out in the Teams world will be released for Windows primarily only until the MDEP platform is fully up to speed. And that could take a year, could take 18 months. It might take 6 weeks. I don't know. But the point that I'm getting after is if you look at Microsoft's public roadmap for Teams, almost all of the developments are for Windows. So it's kind of a fun thing that you would be able to enact all those lovely new upgrades from Teams because this is a Windows device. One other thing I would like to say about this device is that James mentioned the same i5 processor, and it's actually a lot more than just the same i5 processor. Believe it or not, every device we've looked at so far has the same motherboard, same memory, same processor, same chipsets, same everything. And why might this matter? Why might not this matter? What this actually means is that we know that when it's reliable in a core, it's going to be reliable in a ThinkSmart 1. More importantly, in the event that something breaks, we're not going to have chipset shortages because it's the same things we're using in all of our devices. So it becomes a very easy thing to support in the event that like a motherboard dies, for instance. Those things can happen. It does happen. But the point that I'm getting after is that it's a very easy swap.
I'm going to add one thing before inserting a little tech support break here, but I have conversations daily, you guys, with customers who aren't sure if they should go with an appliance, bar, something like that, or a PC-based solution. And like right out of the gate, your platform likely, I don't want to say always, because I guess there may be a scenario, but likely the platform that you're using, Microsoft Teams, we're talking about here, Zoom Rooms, right? There's going to be different feature sets that are supported in a PC-based environment that maybe aren't supported in an Android-based environment. So right out of the gate, before any kind of pros and cons, you want to make sure that the features that your customer is expecting are available in the solution you're given to them. James, I know we talked about Google Meet earlier. I see you pull up this deck for me. Getting me excited. What can you tell us about the solutions for Google Meet?
Yeah, so again, one of the top Google Meet solutions that's available for rooms out there today, or if you're Mark Whittaker, you'll say it is the top solution that's out there today. One of the things that I really like to call out about the Google Series 1 is that it does use true voice technology, which means that it has some of the best noise cancellation and sound pickup that exists today for Google Meets. The other nice thing about this is that it is our only completely PoE solution, which means that everything that connects to this, including the camera, microphones, and speakers, does run over Ethernet cabling. The great thing about that is that pretty much everything on this device is color-coded, including the ports and the cables that go to it. So when it comes to deployment, it's super, super easy to deploy this solution. It does come in a variety of different room solutions. We actually have even more today than what is shown on this slide, but it does range from everywhere from small huddle rooms all the way up to large rooms. And that large room kit will support up to a room out of the box that's about 35 by 35 feet. So great versatility for room size. Mark, I'm sure you have much more to say about this as well.
Do I? Yes. So one quick thing that this actually is a new thing as of this last week, which is why it's not included in this slide. And I apologize to everybody for not having this included. But we actually just refreshed this system. So we're actually on our third generation of this product now. James alluded to there's actually one room size that's not listed there, and it's called Medium Prime. And it's what it is. It's the exact same thing as the medium room, except instead of having using the small room camera, it uses the large room camera, and that's the only real difference. Joe, at the start of the meeting, I suggested we are the best. I mean, it says right there, best in class. Come on, man. But the reality is that this product was actually designed in conjunction with Google to be optimized for Google Meet. It is still, like I mentioned earlier, purpose-built. So it is designed to get stuck in some weird places and kind of do what it needs to do and do it effortlessly. As well as there was a point in time where we literally couldn't sell these because Google themselves was actually buying these from us faster than we could make them. And I think that having that tacit endorsement from Google themselves speaks volumes about the quality of this product. If it wasn't the best, then I don't know why they'd even buy it. So the reality is, I think that between the fact that it says right in the slide, best in class, and because Google themselves is buying it, I think that that's huge.
The latter of that definitely speaks volumes. I mean, there's just no way around that. If the platform provider is choosing this as their hardware solution, that there's no more conversation to be had about it. It is the best, and that's why they use it.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe one other thing that I'd like to add from a sales perspective about this is this is not your standard run rate onesie twosie device, right? We don't have a lot of customers that are doing just a couple of these. This is a when it rains, it pours type scenario. So super popular on the West Coast as well. Those Silicon Valley companies, tech companies that are standardized on G Suite. This is just a call out for our partners that are on the call right now that do handle accounts that are on the West Coast. Definitely something to call out and make sure that you are proposing this to your customers that are already standardized on Google.
I have a dealer on the West Coast working with one of those big companies right now that is standardized on Google. And, this was part of the conversation. Can you guys, this is a tough question to ask. We got a question in the chat that was asking if and how this handles divisible spaces. And before I just pose the question of, can this do divisible spaces? Is there expansion to handle divisible spaces? Anybody who hasn't worked with the Google Meet solution, it is not, one-to-one like the Zoom and Teams solutions out there. Google is a little more closed off in their process and their selection of products and what they certify and all that sort of thing. And their platform, I don't think is necessarily designed to be a direct competition with some of these things. So a lot of the limitations do reside in the platform and their certification process and how, what they want to open or not allow or allow. So that prefaced, is there any support here for combinable divisible spaces? And if there isn't, is it just a limitation of the Google Meet product and platform, or is it more there was a hardware reason we didn't choose to support that?
Sure. So the reality is there is no difficult questions. There's only difficult answers. And we've talked about the PoE nature of all of our components to this system, but it also does have USB ports on it. So in the event that you had some USB camera system that worked well in a divisible space, as well as a switching and routing system, because the inputs and outputs are all just HDMI. So you absolutely could put this into a divisible space using third-party systems. Natively, like you suggested, it's more limited than that. And it really, you can't just buy a large room and then expect it to do a divisible room. But it's with the third-party integration, you absolutely can do divisible rooms.
Okay.
One other key thing. Sorry about that, Joe. Didn't mean to stomp on you there. One other key thing I'd like to point out is that with the refresh with the third generation, the compute is paying more attention to those USB peripherals, as well as it has USB-C output specifically designed to be able to, although we don't sell these typically, and by we, I guess I should say all of you probably don't sell these typically, but the USB-C port is designed to handle 8K displays coming down the pike. So it's future-proofed in that regard as well. So it is a wonderful system, and it's really a shame that it's not more adopted than it is by corporations as a whole. I get it, but like James was suggesting, a lot of West Coast clients are using this, and K-12 frankly buys these quite frequently as well.
Yeah, big Google users in that education space as well. So I appreciate the clarification and information there. That definitely answers the question. Folks, do keep questions coming. We've got about 10, 15 minutes left here. We want to make sure that if you have any questions, we get to them. But sorry, you guys, I'll let you keep going here. I just want to make sure that folks get their questions in time.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. All right. So I'm actually going to skip. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about our LFD stuff today. Just know that we do have a large format display lineup today, 65, 75, 86-inch models available. Of course, they're compatible with all of the smart collaboration devices that we're talking about. But I do want to go ahead and move through to make sure that we hit all of our topics before we wrap up this conversation today. So moving along, this brings us into that new BYOD solution that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So, Mark, I don't know if you'd like to kick this one off.
Sure. So ultimately, what's happened in this actually stemmed out of a Teams discussion. So I talk about it from a team space. But what happened is that we realized that there was a lot of Teams rooms that were just BYOD. And that can be problematic for some IT departments because basically those rooms don't get analytics. They don't get any of the good stuff saying that it's actually been used. They don't get any of the maintenance. It's just kind of like catch as catch can and hope it works. Well, so what we did is we created our USB-C Smart Dock Think Smart Edition, or as I like to call it, the Think Smart Dock, because it's a lot easier to say. And ultimately what it is it's a dock. It's a single USB-C that connects to your laptop. The dock itself supports multiple displays. It supports powering to your laptop. I think it's up to 65 watts to your laptop via that same USB-C. If it's network connected, network across that USB-C connector as well. So it's a single connection point rather than potentially multiple, as well as it provides out through Think Smart Manager into Dock Manager, the ability to actually start getting some analytics on spaces. There's a little bit of a cross setup that has to happen, but it's very possible that IT organizations will actually start seeing some, okay, these rooms are actually getting used as opposed to we just kind of let it happen. So there's a lot of value to be had using this dock in various and sundry BYOD spaces.
And Mark, that manageability capability, that runs off of Azure, is that correct, if I'm not mistaken?
That is absolutely correct. Yes, there is some setup needed to make that happen, but once it's set up, you can absolutely get a look into all of those spaces.
Awesome. We did get an audience question. Jim Lutz had asked if there's a part number for this product yet, which I'm going to tag on to. And, I think that kind of is leading to, is this shipping? Is it available, or when may it be, if not?
So it is shipping. Jim, if this is the Jim that I think it is, then I can get you the part number, no problem. It is shipping now.
You don't have it memorized? No, I'm teasing.
Not only is this shipping today, but it is actually available in the North America channel. So if somebody orders it in the US or Canada today, you'll get it within a matter of days.
Is there support for dual monitors? My buddy Tim is wondering about that.
It does. It actually has two HDMI outputs on the dock, and it's a single USB-C connection that will run them both. There is a limitation to resolution. Obviously, you're not going to be doing crazy 5K. I don't know anybody who would do dual 5K displays, but you get the idea. Maybe somebody would try it, but
yeah. There's somebody who would love to find the breaking point. That's kind of what makes us great in the positions we're in, I suppose. That's a great question though, Tim, because I dual monitor support is something that comes up pretty frequently. So yes, on the dual monitor support, that's awesome.
Okay, Mark, anything else here? I think we're about to move into the Think Smart Manager slide at this point.
Yes. So one quick thing is just to suggest that the Bar 180 is a lovely device to pair with the dock. If you had a greenfield room that you knew was going to be a BYOD space, then the Bar 180 in conjunction with our dock makes a beautiful solution.
Yes, thanks, Mark. I appreciate you calling that out. Obviously, I have it on the slide here. Great way to get a well-priced, agnostic solution into a conference room today. I did talk earlier today about how the Bar 180 pairs with our core and controller. We do also sell the Bar 180 standalone. So for customers that just want to use the camera, mics, and speakers in the Bar 180 and want to use their own device to actually run the meeting, they can certainly do that as well.
A couple people have asked for this part number. Carol, go Carol. She found it. It is in the chat, you guys. So if you're looking for that part number, there's a couple people who mentioned it. Go ahead and copy it right out of the chat.
Thank you, Carol. Can always count on her. She keeps the ship afloat.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So actually, before we get to Think Smart Manager, again, we're tight on time, so I'm going to touch on this very briefly. It is a new release, so I wanted to make sure that we call it out. We do have a new Think Smart Tiny Kit, where the rest of the portfolio that we have talked about today is running on an i5 platform. This is actually running on an i3. And the reason that we've done this is to kind of give a better entry point for customers that may have only been doing BYOD in the past and want to move into that managed room space, that one touch to join. This is a great entry point to be able to do that. Great for government customers, EDU, just end users that are working on a shoestring budget and want to get that Microsoft Teams room functionality without a huge price tag attached to it. This is a great way to do that. This just hit ship support this week. So just something to keep in mind if you are talking with customers about the ThinkSmart Core and controller and the price just isn't quite there. This is something else that will be available in the North America channel very soon. So I do just want to quickly move through the slides so we have some more time to talk about ThinkSmart Manager.
So real quick, James, on the ThinkSmart Tiny, this is just one of the big caveats to that device is that it only supports one monitor. Please keep that in mind as you're looking into this.
Good call out, Mark. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us into ThinkSmart Manager, and Mark, this is going to be your show.
Yeehaw, James, you got to stop sharing so I can share.
Oh, okay, perfect. I will stop sharing.
That works too. We'll get yours up.
One moment, please. Boom.
We've got about, 8 or 10 minutes left here. We do want to make sure we get to that raffle as well. So I believe this is kind of the last piece of the puzzle. Really appreciate everybody with the questions. Shout out Carol for getting in there and helping us out with that part number as well.
Absolutely. So you should be able to see my dashboard currently. Is that correct?
No, we don't see a share.
Oh, that's no good.
It happens.
Oh, I got to hit the actual share button. I'm really good at this, I swear. You should see it now. All right. So ThinkSmart Manager, as I mentioned, is our back-end management, monitoring, and control system platform that allows you to get into all the devices. I'm going to plow through some of the highlights here. If you'd like a deeper dive on this, by all means, drop me a shout or drop me a line, give me a shout. And I guess you could drop me a shout too. And I will set you up with some of the best in the business on talking through this particular platform. But for starters, I want to point out the dashboard. Right away, you can see a whole lot of red going on, and I want you to know why. It's because this is my test systems demo tenant, which is to say that at any given moment in time, I have a whole lot of devices that are in various states of disrepair. Well, I say disrepair because I'm breaking them on purpose so I can learn how to fix them. So there's 31 devices available in the tenant, and only 4 of them are actually online right now. So it's very much on purpose, just so you know. But through this, you can actually start getting a peek into what's going on any given platform. So you can see there's 31 devices, a whole bunch are MTR, a bunch are Zoom, some are unavailable. There's lots of great stuff with this. There's 2 tiers to the ThinkSmart Manager. There's the free tier, which is free. And then there's the premium tier, which is relatively inexpensive, something like right now, I think it's about $150 a month per device. Or if you have enough devices, there's what we call a site license, which is not a physical site, but just for any device in your organization.
Mark, quick correction for you. You said $150 a month. It's actually $150 a year per device.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's subtly different.
That's far more reasonable, isn't it?
Sorry, James. Thank you for catching that on me. I appreciate that. If you do have the premium license, which I would definitely recommend, and our Tiny will not come with the premium license, but all of our other devices come with 1 year of premium ThinkSmart Manager included, so you can check it out and try it and see what you like, see what you don't like, and then buy later on if you wanted to. But with the premium tier, you do get some analytics between people counting, room utilization, and devices in meeting in the lower right-hand corner here. But where it really starts to get interesting is when we get down into our devices. So what we have listed in front of us is a list of all of our devices in this tenant. It starts off with the ones that are busted first, because why not? And we can start seeing some of the online devices here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into one. So this is a core device. And right now, this is set up. You can get the model number and the serial number, which should be right down here. And both of those will be needed if you ever do need to call into our support line. So you could just pop right in here and grab that information, no problem. We also mentioned the ThinkSmart Bar 180. So with this little crayon button right here, we see that there is before we get there, we can see that there's a ThinkSmart controller connected to it. We see the ThinkSmart Bar 180 is connected to it. And we see that there's actually one of our ILFDs connected to it, which is kind of cool. And that's all connected up to a core. You might ask why this shows up twice right here, and that's because once is for audio, once is for video. So if I click that little crayon, it'll pop up my nifty window right here, where I can go through and start doing all the AI configurations, device settings, so on and so forth like that. So you can absolutely get into some crazy detail of setup right from within ThinkSmart Manager. So you do not, along with that, I'm sure you noticed it, but the nifty live preview button, I'm not going to hit that button because this is in somebody's office and I don't want to go spying on them in the middle of a webinar, so hope nobody minds. But if you do hit that play button right there, it will show you a live view of what the camera sees. So as you're making adjustments, you can actually watch what you're adjusting. One of the other really cool parts, and where we can start getting into some cool deep dive stuff, is we can set up the configuration for the device. So you can set up a device remotely through ThinkSmart Manager. We do have a security tab here, which will give you some of the details about whether it's on the trusted platform module and what the device authentication status is, and so on and so forth. We can set update windows for ThinkSmart Manager. So if you're trying to push ThinkSmart Manager updates in the middle of this time frame, it just simply won't work. So that's both really cool and really bad. When you're like me and on the road all the time trying to show these things off, I'd have to adjust any of these settings in order to be able to actually show you what some of that would look like, which again, because this is in somebody's office, I don't want to do that to them. But know that time window where you're saying, hey, I'm active between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., no updates are allowed during those hours. And lastly, where it gets really interesting is our Intel vPro integration. All of our devices are built on the Intel vPro chipset, which means that we can get at this device from the BIOS level up. I know several of you are saying something along the lines of, why wouldn't I just use the Zoom portal? Why wouldn't I just use the Microsoft Pro portal? And the real answer is this right here, the Intel vPro integration. What we can do with this is that we can, again, start to get some more deeper information about this. But also from here, we can actually turn the device off or even restart it remotely. That's pretty cool. But where it really gets fun is with this remote desktop capability. Now you'll notice there's two different versions, a software and a hardware KVM. Software KVM is basically we're going in while the device is live and working fine, and you can see I'll just pop into that, and hopefully it's not in a call, and it'll pop up in a minute, and it's going to take a minute because it didn't take that long. But you can see the full screen right there. This is what it would look like in the room. This is my touch panel. This is my actual display. So you can actually see what's going on in the room. With that, though, I can actually launch a call. So you notice the button light up like that. So if I hit that button right now, it'll actually start a meeting. Again, because it's in somebody's office, I don't want to do that to them. So it's really good like that. Now, the hardware KVM version, I have to disconnect in order for that to be able to be selected. Once we do that, this is actually out-of-band management. And what does that actually mean? What that means is that we're actually looking at the BIOS itself now. So when I actually hit connect, it'll actually go at the BIOS level up, like I was mentioning. And what's really cool about that is that even when the system is frozen, I can still reboot it. So that's an extraordinarily powerful and valuable tool. At the very least, they say, if ask the average Windows user, step one of troubleshooting any Windows system, what are they going to say?
Turn it off and turn it back on.
Exactly. Well, now you can do it for them remotely. You don't have to go there. You don't have to do anything like that. You can just bang that out remotely. even if it's frozen, which is really cool. We do also have device groups to better actually start to organize your tenant, if you will. There's a bulk restart capability, so you can tell everybody, hey, everybody restart at 4 a.m. every day. Generally speaking, that will happen regardless, but what happens with all of our Teams devices is that it phones home to Teams every night, pulls any updates, runs the updates, and then will reboot as a function of that. But if you wanted to also then restart it at 7 a.m. or something to that effect, just to make sure it was a nice fresh restart to start the day, you can absolutely set up a rule to do that. We can also push device configurations and peripheral configurations right from ThinkSmart Manager. And then again, if we don't have any setup in this tenant, but if I did have this set up, I could then go and look at my analytics for the dock that we were mentioning earlier.
Hey, Mark, we have a question from Kevin real quick, who wants to know if the device manager can toggle the environment between Teams and Zoom rooms.
That's actually a great question. And the short answer is yes.
Wow.
There's a caveat to it, though. So I'm gonna dig back into that same device. Hit the wrong button. Go figure.
That's a great question, Kevin.
I'm going to pop into this device right here, and you'll notice right up here where it says UC Solution MTR. Now, if I click on this little crayon, a little drop-down menu shows up and allows me to swap it to Zoom. Now, this is not, and I cannot stress this enough, this is not something you'd want to do between meetings. Right. It takes about an hour to do. I think it's actually 40 minutes, 42 minutes or so. So it's something that you would do over the weekend or something like that. And really what this is designed to do is to be what we call asset protection. So prior to this particular device reconfiguration capability, what would end up happening is that if you bought a Teams room system, it was always a Teams room system. You wanted to move to Zoom, you had to buy a new system. So what we did here is we realized that that's not very useful to people, that we have several clients who are in the middle of going back and forth between the two of the, some from Zoom to Teams, some from Teams to Zoom. We wanted to be able to give that flexibility. Now, what's interesting about this also, and another big caveat, is that it has to be a Teams room system for this to be an option. So if you're going to sell a Zoom room to somebody that is going to end up as Teams, what you actually want to do is sell them a Teams room system and then swap it to a Zoom room solution. And then later on, you can swap it back to a Teams room solution.
Nice. That's, you guys, I'm trying to I am also, in addition to being the guy who hosts this and all this stuff, I mean, I work on our design team, and it's awesome when we do these and I kind of forget that I'm hosting this, and now I become a viewer and I'm like, oh, I have all these questions, and it's crazy how powerful. It is easily the most powerful management tool I've seen in this type of solution yet. So really impressive. Absolutely. I appreciate you guys giving us a peek under the hood. We're running up on time. I just want to thank everybody for being here with us today. We do got to hit our winner real quick. Shout out to drum roll, Peter Wagner, for sticking around with us. You're going to win an M14 Portable Monitor, which I'm pretty jealous of. We were having some conversations before this about how I thought that was an amazing giveaway. So thank you to James and Mark for all the information and your time. Thanks to everyone watching for sticking with us today, and especially with the resolution issue on the screen share. We'll get that dialed in. And yeah, thanks everybody. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time on the AV Exchange.